Hello, Dr. Dana Dukic. Nice to meet you.
Hello, nice to meet you too.
Okay, we will start our webinar in 1 minute. Okay, let me start to share screen first.
Okay. Great.
Okay, I need to start right over here. Okay, let's start right now. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on where you are. Welcome to the webinar. This webinar is entitled IFLA School Library Manifesto 2021 and Best Practices of School Librarians in Croatia. It is the first webinar of the IFLA Professional Division F webinar series, High Performing Schools with Effective School Libraries. There are 4 webinars in the series. The series are organized by the IFLA Division F, and today's webinar will be divided into 3 parts. The first part will be presented by me over IFLA School Library Manifesto 2021. The second part will be presented by Dr. Dukic, followed by a Q&A session. I'm happy to tell you that there are over 144 registrants, including school principals, teacher librarians, school librarians, teachers, and library and information science students from over 13 countries and economies, including Hong Kong Special Administrative Region of China, Singapore, the United Kingdom, Brazil, Philippines, Spain, South Africa, Australia, Czech Republic, Lebanon, Hungary, Mauritius, Maldives, sign up for the events. And now let me introduce myself a bit. I'm Helen Chen, the IFLA Professional Division Committee Chair of Division F. And today we have another speaker, Dr. Zvjezdana Dukic, holds a PhD in Library and Information Science from the University of Zagreb, Croatia, and work in academic, special, and school libraries in Croatia, the United Kingdom, and Hong Kong Special Administrative Region of China. She also taught courses in library and information management at the University of Hong Kong and the University of Zagreb, Croatia. Dr. Dukic presents at local and international conferences and published papers in academic journals. Her research interests focus on the application of new technologies in library services and users' education. She received twice the IASL award for her work in school libraries in Hong Kong. Let me now tell you the housekeeping rules. Please provide us your questions in the Q&A features of the Zoom webinar. The webinar will be recorded, and this webinar will be carried out in English. Now, let me start the webinar with a brief introduction of the IFLA School Library Manifesto with some highlights. If you Google online, it is not difficult to find the article of Dr. Diana Ober, the Professor Emerita in Teacher-Librarianship in the Faculty of Education at the University of Alberta in Canada, which mentioned about the history of IFLA School Library Manifesto on the IFLA website. The IFLA School Library Manifesto started in the IFLA School Library sessions in 1970s. The discussion on the first School Library Manifesto began at the IFLA P Conference on School Libraries in the developing world, which was held in spring with the Canadian experts. And in 1999, the manifesto was approved by IFLA and UNESCO, translated into many languages and distributed worldwide. According to the School Library Manifesto 1999, the purpose of the School Library Manifesto is to ensure that the role of school library in the new information environment is understood and agreed upon worldwide. The objective of the manifesto is to define and advance the role of school libraries and resource centers in enabling students to acquire the learning tools and learning contents that allow them to survive, to develop their full capacities, to continue to learn throughout their lives, and to make informed decisions. Based on the IFLA School Library Manifesto 1999, the School Library Session present School Library Manifesto 2021 after extensive discussions and consultations at the IFLA World Library and Information Congress 2021 in Dublin. You can now see a QR code on the screen. You can scan the QR code to access the latest version of the IFLA School Library Manifesto, or you can Google it easily online. The version of the 2021 School Library Manifesto retains its emphasis on teaching and learning for all, particularly for fostering literacies, thinking, and global citizenships with school library professionals, collections, collaborative efforts between teacher librarians or school librarians and subject teachers in inclusive and equitable education. Its mission is to support all members of the school community to become critical thinkers, effective users of information. Teacher librarians or school librarians support student growth by providing equitable access for learning experiences, resources, and the learning spaces that enable all members of the school community to become engaged critical thinkers, effective readers, and responsible users, evaluators, creators of information in multiple formats. Equitable access to the learning commons in primary and secondary school library environments, resources, and program services and collections, as well as differentiated instructional opportunities for all learner needs and abilities are necessary. Specific access must be provided for those who are unable to use mainstream library services and materials, especially those with special educational needs. Moreover, close relationships should be built between school libraries and public libraries and beyond for the wider information network, in accordance with the IFLA Public Library Manifesto. Participate in the regular meetings between school libraries and public libraries with your concerns of the public library support to the school education. For example, broad loan services, broad loan periods, suggestions for public library purchase, and new services. All these can create a positive impact not only on school education, but also on the development of public libraries. It is important to know that the school library program is essential to every long-term education strategy, including literacies, information provision, and creation, as well as economic, social, and cultural development. It is the responsibility of local, regional, and national authorities to support school library programs through specific legislation and policies, which ensure adequate and sustained funding for qualified school library professionals, materials, technologies, facilities, and lifelong professional learning. We must understand that teacher librarian or school librarian is a professionally qualified, motivated, and dedicated staff member responsible for planning and managing the school library program, working together with all members of the school community and liaising with the public libraries and others in the wider community. He or she should be a member of a library association, and this is new in the School Library Manifesto 2021. I should say that some teacher librarians gather together in WhatsApp group and engage their studies in different hot topics. For example, e-resources, library systems are very good practice of the field. Some of those groups in Hong Kong Special Administrative Regions of China have more than 100 members. So please also be invited to join different library professional associations too, such as IFLA, International Federation of Library Associations and Institutions. We have the school library session, literacy and reading session, libraries for children and young adult sessions, information literacy sessions, and more sessions you may be interested in. So please check them out from the IFLA website and join us. Meet the international diverse, vibrant groups of library experts, build the capacity and realizing the potential of our profession together. In an increasingly networked environment, qualified school library professionals must be good leaders, competent in planning and teaching involving literacy, digital competencies, operating and managing the school library facilities and program, and responsible to teachers and students. I should say teacher librarian and school librarians are also responsible to parents too. Like what I advocate in Hong Kong Special Administrative Regions of China starting in 1999. The teacher librarian and school librarian should be supported in the school library routine by adequate clerical staff trained in school library procedures and can be held by well-trained volunteers, especially for those carrying out many school library online and also offline activities throughout a school year. The school library is a common learning environment where a teacher librarian or school librarian teaches and works collaboratively with the school community to ensure the implementation of different goals. The school library program fulfills the goals by developing equitable policies and instructional program, selecting and acquiring high-quality resources and technologies, providing physical and intellectual access to diverse sources of information, providing participatory physical and virtual learning environments, and employing qualified school library professionals and trained code staff. With many school library goals in the IFLA School Library Manifesto 2021, I would like to highlight some new additions and individual items here, including ensure a safe learning environment for all learners, where their quest for knowledge is respect and support and personal information protect. For the participants of Hong Kong Special Administrative Regions of China today, I would like to highlight support and enhance cultural and social goals as planned with the local community. Co-design active inquiry and discovery learning experiences in physical and virtual spaces. Foster independent reading for knowledge, understanding, imagination, and enjoyment. Instruct learners in becoming ethical users and creators of information and knowledge. Influence learners to adopt the use of libraries throughout their lives. Organize learning activities that encourage cultural and social awareness and sensitivity. Promote and involve the whole school community and beyond in the work of the school library. Facilitate professional learning opportunities for teachers and staff, especially related to new resources, technologies, curriculum, and instructional strategies. Overcome the digital divide and other forms of exclusion, especially under the big term, information accessible for all. To ensure effective and accountable cooperations, I would like to highlight the school library program must include policies on school library services that are formulated to define goals, priorities, and services in relation to the school's curriculum. Be accountable. Through an ongoing monitoring, evaluation, and accountability process, whose data are discussed and shared with the school and local community members and stakeholders. Be visible in the school prospectus and the web page. Every child deserves the benefits of a school library program as described in this manifesto in support of the United States Sustainable Goal 4. That is, to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. It is expected that decision makers and educators at local and national levels and members of the library community around the world are hereby urged to implement the principles in this manifesto. At school level, principals of schools and local school administrative boards are encouraged to adopt this manifesto in their strategic documents in order to help students to become responsible citizens. So right now, my sharing has to be finished here, and I would like to pass the floor to Dr. Dukic to introduce us the best practice of school libraries in Croatia. Dr. Dukic, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Let me open the video. Okay, just let's start the video. Why it's unable? I can't start the video. I don't know what's the problem.
Try again.
Okay, now it's fine. Okay, I will share my screen. Just a second. Just a second.
Sure.
Okay, my slides. Okay, so
we cannot see. Yes, we can see now.
So
great.
Here they are. Slideshow. Okay. Okay. Well. So is it clear? Because I can.
It is coming.
Okay. Fine. Okay, so let's start from the first slide. Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending this session. In this presentation, I will show some examples of school library practice in Croatia that reflect the goals of the school library program proposed by IFLA School Library Manifesto. So you can see this also from the title of this presentation.
Sorry, Dr. Dukic, we cannot see the PowerPoint slide yet.
No?
No.
But they are. It says sharing. It says sharing. Stop share.
It is not shown on the screen. Would you mind to start sharing again?
On my screen, well, what's the problem? Because on my screen I can see you are screen sharing and I can stop sharing. So share for in my screen it's sharing. So you can't see it.
We cannot see the PowerPoint slide. We can just see the word Donna. Yeah, we can see your face now.
Okay, share.
Yes, we can see it now. Thank you.
Oh, so you can see now. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's fine. So I can start again. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Okay. As I mentioned, this presentation, I will show some examples of school library practice in Croatia that reflect the goals of the School Library Manifesto. Let's take a look at some characteristics of school librarianship in Croatia. School libraries in Croatia are learning spaces offering many services to all members of the school community. School librarians are qualified professionals who manage library collections and services, and actively support teaching and learning in their schools. In collaborations with teachers, school librarians guide library users on using library collections and services, and they also run various literacy classes like information literacy, media literacy, digital literacy, and so on. School librarians promote students' reading by organizing various reading activities. And Croatian school librarians actively engaged with modern technologies in library instruction and their professional development. Let's take a look now at some reading activities provided by school librarians in Croatia. Library practices of school librarians in Croatia are rich with various activities happening inside the library or outside the library, and often in collaboration with teachers. School librarians provide various reading lists for students, organize book displays, and watching movies based on novels. They organize invited talks with writers, poets, illustrators, and some other experts. They run reading club, library club. For instance, they teach students how to repair books or how to help to tidy up the library and some similar things. There are many reading events and projects on the city, state, or international level. For examples, these are Reading Network, Book Night, Party with Letters, Reading Together, Reading Aloud, Our Little Library, Let's Create, eCreatively, eTwinning, so all kinds of projects and some others, I can't mention all. Examples of various reading projects can be found on the following website, and this is the website developed and edited by school librarians, and it shows all kinds of reading activities that school librarians run in Croatia. There are a lot of pictures and movie clips, but there are also some texts that you can translate by using Google Translate if you are interested to read them. Now, let's see library instruction. School librarians in Croatia provide various instructional sessions, like library orientation for new students and teachers, information, media, and digital literacy lessons and workshop for students to teach them how to use various sources of information like book, periodicals, references, internet for learning purposes. They help them to acquire skills to analyze and evaluate messages on various media and to use media to communicate their messages. And they also help students to get familiar with various digital tools to perform various learning activities. Library instruction is often performed in collaboration with teachers. You can find more about all these activities by school librarians in a paper published in proceedings from the Conference of International Association of School-Librarianship, and this paper is listed in the list of reference together with the link where you can access the full paper. School library evaluation. So we are done now, are we? Should I?
About related to school library. Yeah, and then I need to ask you another question, because in Hong Kong, you know, we have teacher librarians.
Yeah,
but yeah. Croatia, do you have teacher librarians in Croatia?
Yeah. Yes, they are teacher librarians, and they have, when they are employed, they have two. I don't know how it's called. This is like a state short exam, and they have to confirm. They have one exam testing their professionality in librarianship and the other in pedagogic teaching education. So they are teacher librarians.
Okay, now let me stop the
this. And as Ms. Chan mentioned, she described the IFLA Library Manifesto main principle. Actually, this manifesto, it says like this: School libraries are responsible for regular monitoring and evaluation of library operations and services by gathering various kinds of evidence, analyzing this data, and sharing the results with the school and local community members and stakeholders. So we can see how evaluation is important and actually is valuable to school librarians in one way. They can reflect on their own activity, and they can also inform stakeholders, members of the school community, about their input to teaching and learning. In another document, IFLA, this is kind of program for school libraries from 2015, evaluation is substantial component of the evidence-based library and information practice. Shortly, it's called IBLIP, and this is approach to librarianship. This is getting quite popular in school librarianship, and it came actually from medical librarianship because they learned it from medical professionals, this idea about evidence-based practice. So IBLIP is defined as a systematic process of evaluating library practices by generating evidence from various sources and using this evidence to improve library practice and to demonstrate the impact of the library on teaching and learning. So this is actually repeating what we found in documents by IFLA. Let's take a short look at the types of evidence. School librarians gather evidence of their library practice from many sources. First, let's mention library statistics. I guess many school librarians are familiar and they are gathering statistics. Library statistics we gather often from school library management system. So we can learn about the structure of library collections. We can learn about the usage of library collection, which resources are particularly used, which are unused. So these are statistics very useful. Also about the services, sometimes librarians collect data, how many lessons or activities they provide, how many students attended. So they can get a lot of library data from library statistics. So also about the budget and the staff in the library, budget spending on resources and other things in the library. Another way of gathering evidence is observation. Actually, librarians always during their working hours in library, they observe users' behavior, and they can learn a lot of interesting things about how their users are using the library, how they retrieve for information, can they easily find resources on the shelves, or which time periods are most active in using the library. So it's quite useful, and librarians can make notes, or anyway, they can use it. And now we come to the important component, it's school library users' feedback. This is quite important for school librarians to understand how users feel about the library collections and services. They can gather user comments, just some oral comments or comments by email or in social media. So this can be just simple comments. And then we have systematic collection of data from library users, which includes kind of research in a library, conducting survey, interviews, analyzing this data. So this is a little bit more subtle way of collecting users' information, but this can be very helpful. Evidence from professional interaction with colleagues. So this is from various informal contacts, meetings, conferences. This is very useful evidence because you can learn what others are doing. I must say this helped me a lot while I worked in Hong Kong school library. I always explored what others are doing in Hong Kong or in other countries, and it was very useful. And then evidence from research and non-research literature. So librarians, they read their librarianship, these academic journals in their profession. And there is a lot of non-research literature, like different manuals or some blogs, social media publications. And so this is also very useful. More about the evidence-based practice of school librarians from Croatia, you can find also in the paper listed in bibliography, references at the end of the presentation. That was conducted 2019 and presented at the same conference, the International Association of School Librarians, and published in Proceedings. I actually, because I talk about school librarians in Croatia, I didn't mention that we researched also evidence-based practice from school librarians in Hong Kong, because my colleague, she's from Hong Kong, so we conducted this research together. So you can find information and data about types of evidence and how school librarians use this evidence. Here, I will provide and describe some examples from school library practices in Croatia. So in this presentation, I chose 3 examples from Croatian school librarians practice. And these examples are selected. Actually, I mentioned here one reason. One is that they include evaluation of library practice and evidence is gathered from participants' feedback. Also, I must point out I'm familiar with all these 3 examples, because I I collaborated with librarians who were running these activities, and I helped out with creating a survey, collecting data, and data analysis. So this is why, for these 2 reasons, I selected these 3 samples. One is media literacy lesson, comics as a medium. The second one is inter-school library project. Actually, it's a reading project, and it's called I Write a Story, I Read a Story. And the third example is professional collaboration of school librarians in the virtual community. We call it Zvjezdana team because it's in Croatia, the name of the smaller local association of school librarians. Let's take a look at the first one. So, media literacy lesson, comics as a medium. This was library lessons that was based on the comic book Durica, I don't know if you can see, Small Loves, by Croatian author Benjanec. This lesson was prepared and performed by school librarian Ružica Rebrović-Habek in collaboration with the class teacher. Actually, I'm familiar with this lesson because I was present during this lesson, and as I mentioned, I helped with the collecting evidence. So let's take a look shortly at the teaching process, introducing the story and its characters through a discussion with students. Teaching about comics combined with discussions and activities for students, group work on creating a photo comic using the Comic Life application, and testing students' knowledge using the Plickers smartphone application. So testing knowledge they acquired in this lesson. I included here photos that I took during the class because I think they nicely show the process. So we can see the first one here is librarian. She has 2 dolls and she's introducing characters. You can see how students, they all have their hands up. Then teaching. We can also see a few hands up, but most of them, they are looking at the screen and listening to the lesson. Then work on a photo comic. So this is one of the group. They work in groups. So this is one group that is busy exploring. They were developing a photo comic, writing text and choosing pictures. So this is the group work, and then testing knowledge. So you can see the hands up, but this is because she has this application and she scans. Students are asked questions to test knowledge, and then they have some signs that point. They have few options, 1, 2, 3, 4. So they choose the sign that points to the option. and for their answer, and she is scanning and she quickly gets the result of the test. So, and it looks like students are quite happy. After the session, students were given a simple quiz. After each of these 4 sessions, we wanted to know how they feel about the specific part of this lesson. And we gave them a short quiz. So this is like a graphic quiz. You can see asking them how did they feel about this specific library activity. We have, this is a Likert scale designed for kids. This means very happy, happy, unhappy, very unhappy. And at the end of the whole lesson, we had a focus group. That means a group interview with the 7 students and asking them about their feelings and thoughts about the whole lesson. Here are the results. These are results from the quiz. We can see for this short session, this is Likert scale, so we can see happy, moderately unhappy, unhappy. We can see discussion about the books with the dolls. Students were quite happy. You see, there were 22 students, you can see from here, and they were all 21, they were very happy. And 1 is just moderate, so they are all happy. But when you come to the teaching, you can see we have some moderately unhappy, so it's much lower. Later we will make conclusions about all this, but we still have a lot of them who are happy, moderately or happy, very happy. Actually, yeah. Then creating a photocomic, so it grows the number of those who are happy, and 3 are moderately, and we have 1. Actually, in the both part, we can see 1 student that is unhappy, and actually the librarian told me this is a student who has a problem. So it's indication for school librarian to pay attention to these students more. So you can see this is very useful for school librarian. And we can see testing the knowledge. This is a surprise because usually students don't like testing, but here it seems that they all were happy and enjoyed. It's probably, we will make conclusions here. So let's take what are takeaways for school librarian, what school librarians learned from this very simple quiz. Most of students felt happy during the lesson and they enjoyed, it's interesting, activities that required some engagement with them. So they really enjoyed. You can see first part, they have had more engagement. And here when they created the comic and they were testing knowledge, how they were happy. So students like to be engaged. And students enjoyed activities involving technologies. This one can we also conclude for these both graphs and especially the testing one, where students always don't like testing. And then what was feedback from the focus group? When we talked to students, they pointed out they really enjoyed the quiz with clickers and work on photocomic with Comic Live. So they were active in this, engaged, and they used technologies. So these are some useful conclusions for school librarian. Now let's take a look at the literary project, I Write a Story, I Read a Story. As I mentioned, there are many projects run by school librarians in Croatia, and there are a lot of very good projects, but I just could choose one, and I chose one, as I mentioned, because I took part in a way by helping with this gathering data about students or librarians' feedback. So let me say a few words about this project. It was organized by, that was a project, 7 primary schools in Zagreb took part in this project, and, oh, okay, they just moved, okay. And they used a tool called Book Creator to encourage students writing and reading. Another goal of this project is to encourage collaboration among school librarians and also to promote school libraries in the school community. So It's very important that whatever librarians do, that it's visible in school community and the community recognize the input of school librarians to teaching and learning. The project is developed by school librarian Katarina Dukic. Let's take a look at the book creator, a major feature. So this is actually a tool for creating digital books. And it's very convenient because contents can always be added or corrected. So this is really nice that all the time you can add content, make changes, and it's convenient for school librarians and students. It provides many options for graphic editing. And users can insert images, text, videos, music, or record their own voice. Complete digital book can be published online, printed or saved in PDF format. So the tool seems to be very convenient. Let's take a look at the project implementation process that included 4 stages. First, students from 5th to 8th grade in primary school, because in primary schools in Croatia, they are from P1 to P8. So students from P5 and to P8, they are encouraged to write stories for students in P1 to P4. Each month, one school sends one story to other participating schools, and P1 to P4 grade students read and interpret the story and participate in various activities related to the story. And what is important for students, students' work is published along with the story in the joint digital book created in Book Creator. The project was implemented during one school year in monthly cycles. On the right side, you can see some examples of students' work in this project. In the course of this project, so let's take a look at the activities with students, and these activities are with students who read the stories. That means P1 to P4 students. In the course of the project, school librarians encourage students to discuss story topics, to illustrate stories, perform various artworks, dramatize the story, expand story parts and write a different story ending, and write messages to the author. They could praise the story or maybe criticize, oh sorry, it went too fast, suggest changes in the story, ask questions. So they had a lot of opportunities for their comments. Let's take a look at the feedback from school librarians. In this part, we actually we gathered feedback from school librarians who took part in this project. So after 1 year of the project, a short survey was conducted with librarians involved in this project. And the survey included questions about the suitability of book creator and also about the use of new technologies in school library programs. In addition, school librarians were asked to describe students' reaction to the project. In this one, we actually had one open question where they could freely write their answer, while the first 4 questions included Likert scale. So let's take a look at the survey questions. Book creator is suitable for school librarians' collaboration on joint projects. Book creator is easy to use and can be learned quickly. It's important to implement modern technologies in school library programs, and school librarians need more training in applying new technologies in education. We used a 5-point Likert scale where 1 is strongly disagreed and disagree, neutral, and strongly agree. Then we calculated average. And we can see that regarding the book creator suitability, it's all about 4. So it's somewhere between agree and strongly agree. So they find it convenient and easy to use too. It's important to implement more the technologies and they need more training. It's a little bit lower, but it's still near agree. So school librarians, most of them, they would agree that technology is quite important and they might need some additional training. So let's make conclusions about, okay, let's take a look about the school librarians comments about how their students reacted to the project. So first, the students who read and discussed the story. So these are P1 to P4 students. The general conclusion is that students enjoyed the project. They liked that stories were written by older students. So this is really like that their colleagues wrote these stories. They were very active in writing comments to the author of the story, and they were pleased that their comments were published. This last one, it reminds me on my work in Hong Kong School Library that the students were always very happy when their work was published on the internet. When I put it on the internet, they were so happy and ready to take part in activities. Reaction of student story writers. So these are P5 to P8 students. Students were pleased that their stories were read to students in other schools, so they really like it. And they were delighted with the feedback, so they enjoyed this feedback. And this is really nice experience that we can see how students, and we can see that they really like the project. And additional benefit from the project. Students connected better with their school librarian, and then they show interest in other library projects. So it was encouraging for students to take part in other projects, and this is a really good benefit. So based on the survey findings, it can be concluded the project was successful and can serve as a model for school librarians' future work. And now we come to the third case. It's, we call in Croatia, ŽSV. It's Županijsko stručno vijeće Zagreb. It's a small library association in Zagreb, Croatia. And we will talk about their virtual community for their professional work and collaboration. This virtual community was established on Teams by Microsoft Teams and was launched by School Library Association in March 2020. I can see because the picture, but it was 2020 as a response to the COVID-19 pandemic and a temporary school closure. So school librarians associated with this virtual community, actually school librarians in this local association, they wanted to keep working because they couldn't meet face-to-face. So they decided to join this, to establish and use this virtual community for their collaboration. And it turns out that they extensively use this platform to connect and collaborate. And they found this community very useful for their professional work and collaboration. And what is the most interesting part is when we compare data for these days, today's use of this community, it was found that they continue to use it regularly. So when the school life was back to normal, and they kept using this community, and although they could also meet face-to-face again. Let's take a look, just short look at the Teams virtual platform features. So this is a communication platform developed by Microsoft as the part of the 365 group of products by Microsoft. The platform supports features like chat with threads, video conferences, file storage, and integration with other Office 365 applications. So there are many applications users can apply in this virtual community. Users can create also separate channels focused on specific topics of their interest. And there is Team Analytics that provides data on usage patterns of group members. All the time you can get information about the usage in Teams Analytics, which is very convenient. This is here a screenshot from the channel that was called School-Librarians. So we have the channels at the beginning were general, educational game, school librarians. It was meant actually their professional activities, the developments, professional things. Cultural organization, library instruction, online digital tools, and collaboration with teachers. Later, they changed. They found maybe some channel not so useful, so they introduced the new ones. Let me go back. Here are examples of discussions and participation in this virtual community, like sharing teaching materials about copyright, video on using Loom, this is an application, sharing teaching materials. So they were quite active, so you can see smiley faces or thumbs up. And so students were quite active in this platform, especially at the time during the COVID pandemic and school closure. Here is a Teams analytics. It's really nice because you can all the time have these analytics. And here is a sample last 20 days from March 2nd, 2020 to May 30, 2020. So we can see that in this 3 months period, they were 38 users. 36 were active users, shows here. Actually, this association is something about 60 and something school librarians, and 38 at this period joined this community. They posted 135 posts. There were 86 replies, and they used 6 applications. They didn't have a meeting in this period, and they posted documents and occupied 37.99 megabytes. So they were sharing, and it's very nice. They could post documents and everyone could access these documents. So we can see that they were quite active in collaborating on this platform. Also, 1 year after using this platform, we conducted a short survey, and we sent the short survey to members to assess the usefulness of this virtual platform. So this is this feedback from users. That is so important for school librarians to learn how effective is the certain activity or program. I didn't put here data. There was a question about how many of them used team platforms, Teams before this virtual community, and about half of them used it before and half of them were new to this application.
Hello, Dr. Dukic. You have the last minutes for the wrap up. Okay, I will just hurry up. So assessment of team platform is easy to use and is suitable. So we can see on a 5-point Likert scale is they are mostly on the direction that they agree. So how the group is organized, interesting, stimulating, and useful. So we can see actually it's also the most of them are satisfied. This is about the channel. So the most popular were general channel, cultural organization, and online digital tools. Here we had, the numbers are lower, we have 1 to 3 point scale. Okay, let's go. So what were achievements of this platform? It seems that it was a very successful project. Collaboration, and what we learned that actually virtual collaboration and face-to-face professional collaboration complement each other, because these days when they can meet face-to-face, they use both ways of communication, and the platform is suitable for school librarians professional. So let's conclude. So we can see that feedback from users or librarians, it's very useful for library profession. The process of collecting evidence may be complex and librarians may need some additional knowledge, so it's recommended to list educators and also a professional association to develop programs so that school librarians enhance their skills in collecting information in this way. So these are references, as I mentioned, and thank you for watching my presentation, and please ask me some questions. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Dukic. You can stop the sharing screen right now, and then there is our Q&A session. I'm sure everyone are inspired by the informative sharing of Dr. Dukic, and we learned some very useful online tools and individual communication platforms that we can use on our joint projects. And Now I have some questions here for Dr. Dukic.
Okay. Yes, sure. Are we here? Okay.
Could you tell us more about the reading project organized by Croatian school librarians?
As I mentioned, I just showed I showed one project that I was familiar with, and I took part in this, and I helped out with creating a survey and analyzing the data. So this is why I mentioned only this one, but there are many very successful reading projects run by school librarians. And let me just mention a few. For instance, Party with Letters. It's interesting because it's an overnight activity in the library. So can you imagine students overnight in the library? So it takes place 7 in the evening until 7 in the morning. And they have a lot of various reading activities. Of course, they have sleeping bags and they sleep, but it's very interesting and exciting project for students. Then we have Book Night. This is actually celebration on World Book Day and Copyright Day. And this is organized by libraries, not only school libraries, other libraries, bookshops, museum, theaters. So there are a lot of activities for students in Zagreb, and they can attend many events. So school librarians join to this project. Then it is a reading network. It's kind of competition where students read books and then they have quizzes about these books. And it's a national project. So many schools took part in this. Reading aloud together. So this may happen also outside the library, in a public library. And then here we have students, teachers, and some other library visitors. They read aloud and discuss. And I also want to mention e-twinning projects. So these are international projects, and they are run Croatian librarians together from librarians from other countries that are joined in Erasmus Plus program from European Community that supports education. So there are so many other projects. I can't mention all, but just I mentioned one that I think are interesting, but there are also many others that are also very interesting and very good. But we can discuss about this later. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Dukic. Now, because of the time limit, so I think it will come to the end of today's webinar. So on behalf of the Division F, I would like to thank Dr. Dukic again for her time and efforts on preparing the wonderful sharing today, and all of you for your participation. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you, especially those from different countries and regions joining our webinar today. We have 3 other webinars in our webinar series, including the one on February the 4th, IFLA School Library Guidelines and Best Practices of Teacher Librarians in France, IFLA Educational Technology and Student Data Briefing and Best Practices of Teacher Librarians in Croatia on April the 8th, and also IFLA Media and Information Literacy and Best Practices of Teacher Librarians in Singapore. So please reserve your time to join them all. And then you can find the event webpage on the IFLA's website. So looking forward to seeing you all in our coming webinars. Bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.